So let me take this disrespectful scale and I'm going to superimpose on it WorkSafe so you can appreciate what's happening. So there's two different arms of WorkSafe. The one arm is called the claims division, and the other arm is the prevention division. So the arm where, like, if you tripped and fell, you would go and file a claim if you're a worker here. And you'd get compensation for benefits based on whatever soft tissue injury, has now taken over psychological safety. So they've essentially said, listen, why are we always talking about, the importance of workplace safety, yet we're ignoring people's psyche? It's kind of crazy. So people can be physically intact, but incredibly emotionally wounded, and we're ignoring it, but yet we are the body for safety in British Columbia. So they've essentially said, we are going to allow people to file claims if they perceive themselves to be bullied and or harassed in their work environment. They can file claims for compensation in the same way as if they tripped and fell. Now it gets more complicated because when you trip and fall, the person who gets to respond to that is the floor or the court, right? And who speaks for the court? Again, philosophy, we're not going to be going into who speaks for the court. But reality, when you file the same claim and say, you know what? My colleagues so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so are brutal to me at work, and I'm going to tell you what they do on lunch break, and I'm going to tell you what they do during coffee, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my supervisor, and I'm going to throw in a couple things about a dean or leadership generally. So here you go. Usually, lately, they've been 10 to 20 pages that people have attached to claims they're filing in relation to bullying and harassment. The concern, of course, is there's always different perspectives and viewpoints. You can take one. That's why we have a justice system. I mean, if everybody agreed, we wouldn't have to have such formal systems for conflict resolution. So you take a fight in a lunchroom, a seemingly innocuous fight in a lunchroom, and there can be 5 people there. And I tell you, when I interview them all, they all have a different lens on what went on. And it can depend, like a lot of people for cognitive psychology say, well, it depends on memory and recall and what they witnessed and what they attended to. It is so much more than that. It includes their childhood. It includes what happened to them at recess when they were little. So maybe they're going to be more in tuned to what's going on. It includes what happened to them that morning. If they had a fight with their spouse because, again, there's no gas in the car, they're coming to the lunchroom already kind of tipped with a negative orientation. So they might see that fight very different than had they had the most amazing breakfast in bed, right? So there's so many reasons why there are different perspectives that workers' compensation, either directly or indirectly through folks like me, come into your units if there's a claim filed like this and talk to everybody who was there at the time to get their observations, their concerns, and their perspective. And then everybody's information goes into whether an individual worker's claim is accepted. So it's it's not kind of a confidential process like it is for physical injury, because there are implications to other people's careers. That's the bottom line. People are saying whatever they see on the paper, and it wouldn't be right to simply accept one person's perspective as the truth. Because while it's their truth, I can tell you, based on my work, it's commonly not what I find as more likely than not to have been the truth. I see a lot of discrepancies, don't see a lot of liars, see a lot of different lenses and people coming at it from different angles. So that's the claims division. What you should know about that is it needs to be a mental disorder. That doesn't mean stress. So a lot of people are going, Yahoo! Yahoo! WorkSafe allows us to go off if we're stressed, right? There's this little happy dance going on in some organizations. So it's not accurate. Stress is not a mental disorder. And if it was, all of us should be on leave right now, right? Including me. I work for myself, but I just take myself off work because really we all have very stressful lives. And it's interesting because everybody I talk to talks about how busy they are. And we all are busy. I don't think that there's one person who's busier than another, but it's interesting because they say, oh, I am so stressed, I am so busy. Like I know everybody's busy, but I am really busy. And but everybody tells me this sort of on their own. I know about those other people. Let's talk about me. Can we talk about me? So it's fascinating. So stress wouldn't be included. It would have to be a mental disorder, such as a depression, anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder. It would have to get to that point. That's why I'm saying it's 9 and 10 stuff. It's not the day in and day out 1 to 3, 1 to 4 stuff that we're dealing with. The other thing you need to know is that performance management, discipline, workload assignments, hours of work, things you're really choked about at work in terms of your day-to-day stuff, is not anything that they are going to concern themselves with. It's right in the legislation. That is part of whatever collective agreement or employment contract you have. That is just part of the day-to-day work. Sometimes work sucks, right? That's just the reality, another legal term. But it's not going to be considered by workers' compensation. The difference, of course, the one exception is in how you are being performance managed. So I'm going to give you an example from a report that I just did. So there's this power struggle between an employee and her supervisor. Power struggle, absolute, clear. There's a lot of issues going on, and I'd say both of them aren't behaving respectfully to each other. So that's, the behaviors are going both ways. They get to the point where the supervisor says they all are working in an open area office, open area cubicle. The supervisor comes over and says, hey, so-and-so, I want you to come and see me in my office right now. And she says, out in the open area cubicle, no. And the supervisor goes, yes. And she goes, no. I'm not coming until I have a shop steward, and I don't know when I'm going to get one. So we'll see about when I'm going to have a meeting with you. And she said, now in my office now. So now they're getting loud. It's now become like an open theater, in summer. So now people are crowding around. Visitors to the facility are crowding around. It's like, oh my God, this is drama. Like we all kind of do crowd around when stuff like that is going down. You're kind of thinking, can this actually be happening? It's happening. So the other woman says no. So she says, you out of this building now. You're suspended. And you're going home, you're shutting down your computer, you're collecting all your belongings, and you're leaving. Now, there's been no misconduct. There's been nothing really other than the two of them like duking it out in front of people, and it's a bad situation. The supervisor literally follows her around. She's so much in her space that at one point the employee turns around and says, can I help you? Because she's like, you can feel her breath on her neck. And she's watching her. She takes her all the way to the front door and then says, bye. So everybody sees her say bye sarcastically. Okay, so let's break that down. WorkSafe would not be interested in the fact that she was going to get suspended for insubordination or refusing to meet with her supervisor. Don't care about that at all. WorkSafe would not be even getting into any of them. Does she get a shop steward? Doesn't she? Was she allowed to refuse? WorkSafe is going to be very interested in the fact that this took place in an open area in front of other people in a way that freaked out not just that person, but completely freaked out the rest of the team. They weren't enjoying it. They're like, holy man, right? These deer in the headlights kind of thing going, what do I have to do to be escorted out in front of everybody else in the facility? So that I always tell people it's all about the how.